Hello everyone, you are welcome to another video session of Python for All. In this video, we will continue our discussion with building blocks in Python. We will talk about PEP. By PEP, we simply mean Python Enhancement Proposals. A PEP is a design document that provides information to the Python community or describe a feature for Python or its processes or environments. PEPs are used to propose new features for Python, to document existing features, or to provide guidance on how to write Python code. Some of the most well-known PEPs include PEP 8, Style Guide for Python Code, PEP 20, Design of Python, PEP 420, Implicit Namespace Packages, PEP 308, Conditional Expressions, PEP 202, List Comprehensions. Now let's focus our discussion on PEP 8, Style Guide for Python Code. Let's get started. Let's begin with code layout. Here we'll talk about indentation. Use 4 spaces per indentation level. Continuation lines should align wrapped elements either vertically using Python implicit line, joining inside parentheses, brackets, and braces, or using a hanging indent. An example of the recommendation is shown in this code snippet. Here we can see the correct way of indenting our codes in Python, with the example of foo being assigned to long function name where you have variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, and variable 4. We can see the continuation of that long statement wrapped inside the parentheses, aligned with the position of variable 1. The next example on line 8 talks about add 4 spaces. That is an extra level of indentation to distinguish argument from the rest. Here we can see how we added 4 spaces of indentation level right inside the function block, the function long function name. We can see it takes variable 1, variable 2, 3, and 4, with variable 4 beginning on the next line, which is line 11, and then so followed by the statement in the function block which says print variable 1, all aligned with 4 indentation level. Also from line 15, we can see how hanging indent should be placed. That is, hanging indent should add a level. We see that in the example where we call foo on line 16 being assigned to long function name with the variable 1, 2, 3, and 4 positioned as hanging indent on line 17 and line 18 with 4 indentation level. Let's look at this other code snippet. Here we see an example of the wrong way of writing our Python code, demonstrated with 2 examples from line 3 to 5 and line 8 to 12. As we go further in this course, we will see how we implement this first recommendation of 4 spaces per indentation level in every Python code we write. Now, the 4 space rule is optional for continuation lines. By optional, I show you an example. Here, we can see hanging indents may be indented to other than 4 spaces. In other words, in the long function name, we saw the hanging indent, which is variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, and 4. They can be indented other than 4 spaces. It is not compulsory, but it is recommended to do so with 4 indentation level. When the conditional part of an if statement is long enough to require that it be written across multiple lines, it is worth noting that the continuation of a 2-character keyword, that is, if, plus a single space, plus an opening parenthesis, create a natural 4 spaces indent for the subsequent lines of the multi-line conditional. What do we mean by this? We mean that if you have a conditional statement such as if, beginning your conditional statement with the keyword if, followed by the open parenthesis, simply create naturally that 4 spaces indentation level recommended by PEP 8. Let's see an example of this. In this code snippet, you see here we need no extra indentation because our conditional if followed by a space and an open parenthesis already created the 4 spaces indentation level. Here you see our conditional if, this is one thing and that is another thing, do something, is properly indented naturally with 4 spaces indentation level. The next example there is add a comment which will provide some distinction in editors supporting syntax highlighting. Here it is also advisable that before you enter your do something inside the conditional statement, you can add a comment. For example, here we added, since both conditions are true, we can fabricate. In other words, we can do something. Also, you can add some extra indentation on the conditional continuation line. That is, if this is one thing, you can see some extra indentation added to and on the next line of that hanging indentation. And that is another thing. You can do this, then do something. It's either you follow the first way or you implement the second way, which is this last one we just looked at in this code snippet. The closing brace brackets, parentheses on multi-line constructs may line up under the first non-white space character of the last line of list. What we mean is this. We show that with an example here. I have my list, which begins with the open square brackets. And then I have the elements of that list hanging on a next line. Okay. Here you can see that it hangs exactly with 4 indentation level under my list, followed by this other element 4, 5, 6, and then the square bracket ending on another line. You can do it this way, or you can present your list simply on a single line. Also, you see an example here with result equals some function that takes arguments a, b, c, then with d, e, f on the next line. And then here you see that the arguments are also presented here on 4 spaces per indentation level, and then the encloses parentheses on the last line. Tabs or spaces. Which one does PEP 8 recommend? Spaces are the preferred indentation method. Tabs should be used solely to remain consistent with code that is already indented with tabs. What we mean by this, if you have a code that has already been written with tabs, then you can use tabs to maintain the indentation level. Otherwise, use spaces. Python disallows mixing tabs and spaces for indentation. Maximum line length. Limit all lines to a maximum of 79 characters. For flowing long blocks of text with fewer structural restrictions. In this, I mean docstrings or comments. The line length should be limited to 72 characters. So where you have docstrings or comments, you should limit the line length to 72 characters. Backslashes may be appropriate. In other words, you can use backslashes to break your code onto the next line. This is an example of that recommendation. We see here with open, and then you have the path in parentheses as file 1, then with a backslash to put the next command on the next line, which says here open. Also, you have the path, and in this case, we are writing the file as file2.write-file1.read. Don't bother about the intricacies of the codes here. In our subsequent videos, we will demystify the statements in all of these examples. We will see them practically demonstrated, so we have better understanding of what we are doing here. So next, should a line break before or after a binary operator? What is PEP's 8th recommendation on this? For decades, the recommendation style was to break after binary operator. But this can hurt readability in two ways. You remember one of the lines in the Zen of Python? Readability counts. But breaking after the binary operator violates this rule of the Zen of Python in two ways. First, the operator tends to get scattered across different columns on the screen, and each operator is moved away from its operand and onto previous line. Let's look at this example. The first example in this code snippet is a wrong way of doing it. Here you see income being gross weights plus taxable interest plus dividend minus qualified dividends minus IRA deduction minus student loan interest. You can see all of these statements have been broken down after the binary operators, the addition and the subtraction. That's a wrong way of doing it. The correct way of doing it is to easily match operators with operand. In other words, break into multi-lines before every binary operator. And so, in this way, it improves readability. Next, blank lines. Surround top level function and class definition with two blank lines. Method definition inside a class are surrounded by a single blank line. Use blank lines in function sparingly to indicate logical sections. What that means is that in every of your function, right inside the function block, do not separate the statements with blank lines. Let it be used less often. Imports. Imports should usually be on separate line. For example, the correct way of doing it is import OS, import syst. The wrong way is putting the import of OS and syst on a single line. Import OS, syst. You will see lots of codes with this wrong way. It is okay to say this, which is this next example, the correct way to say from SciPy import integrate, interpolate, linear algebra. The idea behind it is that all of these imports are from the same package. But if you are importing from a different package, it should be on a separate line. Imports should be grouped in the following order: standard library imports, related third-party imports, local application or library-specific imports. What that means is that when importing, you should begin with the standard library imports in Python, followed by any related third-party imports, followed by your own library import. In other words, if you have your own local function or classes defined, you can import them in that order. Absolute imports are recommended as they are more readable. You see in this snippet, we have import myPackage.sibling. From package, import sibling. From package.sibling, import example. The dot notation here is simply using the concept of absolute import. When importing a class from a class containing module, it is usually okay to spell this. In other words, to spell it out in this form. From my class, import my class. The class or the file name is my class in lowercase. The class being imported is my class in capcase or cap words. You can also say from foo.bar.yourClass, import your class. This is the best way of doing it. If spelling this causes local name clashes, then spell them explicitly. Give an example of this. We have import my class, import foo.bar.yourClass. This is an example of it. and use my class.myclass and foo.bar your class.yourbar. This is to buttress what I said earlier. After the import of my class and foo.bar.yourclass, you can then access my class and your class inside the packages this way. Wildcard imports in bracket from module import asterisk should be avoided as they make it unclear which names are present in the namespace, confusing both readers and many automated tools. You will see this often in most codes. Import asterisk, or from this import asterisk, or from that import asterisk. Please do not use it. It should be avoided. Module level dunder names. Module level dunder names such as _all, _, author, _version, etc. should be placed after every docstring but before any import statements except from _future, _imports. I will give you an example of this. Here you see I begin my module file with this is an example. This module does stuff, and then I close the docstring. Because we are having this from future imports, all other module level dunder like all, version, author should come after it. If I don't have from _future, _import Barry as fluel, it is proper to put all my module level dunders just immediately after the docstring and then followed by other imports, which is the standard imports, third-party imports, and local application imports. You'll see also that in some codes, you don't have it beginning with a docstring. So if that is the style of coding, then you should begin from feature import. If you don't have from feature import, it means you should begin with the module level dunders before other imports. Then if you don't have module level dunders, then you start right away from your import, which is begin with standard import, followed by third-party application import, followed by local application import. Do not put all your module level dunders after those import statements. That is what PEP 8 says. White spaces in expression and statements. Avoid extraneous white spaces in the following situation: immediately inside parentheses, brackets, or braces. This is an example. Right inside parentheses, bracket, or braces. Don't create extra white spaces. The first is the right way of doing it. The second is the wrong way of doing it. We will see that when we start writing our code. Next, between a trailing comma and a following close parenthesis. After a trailing comma followed by closing parenthesis, don't leave a white space. Foo equals, here you see a tuple being assigned to foo with the element being 0. And then you have a comma and then you close the parenthesis. The wrong way is to have it as demonstrated on line 5. That's the wrong way. Do not do it. Immediately before a comma, semicolon, or a colon. So immediately before a comma, a semicolon, or a colon, don't put extra white spaces. Here I've shown examples from line 2 to line 6 of the right way of doing it, and from line 9 to line 12, the wrong way of doing it. Please take time to write this out, look at it critically, and see the proper way of doing it and the wrong way of doing it. And when we start writing our codes, we will see how we ensure that we adhere strictly to these guidelines. Immediately before open parenthesis that starts an indexing or slicing, don't leave white spaces. Right way of doing it is PAM, the first example. The wrong way is the second way. Lastly, here also we show an example of a dictionary with a key being assigned to a list of index. That's the right way of doing it. The wrong way is you have a dictionary of the key being assigned to a list and then a white space before the square bracket. Here also we show the correct way of assigning variables in Python. Here 1 is assigned to X, 2 to Y, and 3 to long variable. The wrong way is also shown. With this, we have come to the end of this lecture. In our next video series, We will continue from where we stopped. We will further discuss other recommendations of PEP 8. Like this video, share this video. If you have any question, leave it in the comment section. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. And do not forget to hit the notification bell to get notified of my new uploads. See you in my next video lessons.